What is that one fact you know that always makes people respond, and why the f*** do you know that? The fact that mushrooms are more genetically related to humans than they are to trees. If you're a woman revolted by the smell of your guy's gym bag, but find yourself sometimes aroused by it, that's when you're ovulating. Just learned a new term for scrotum. That you cannot burn toddlers alive in The Sims 4. Even if you make a building full of fire and put 7 toddlers in the burning building for hours. Thanks for this. Won't bother wasting my time now. Eric Hartman, the top fighter ace of history, yoinked his hat. He was being given an award by himself and had gotten absolutely hammered just a few hours before, as in, he practically couldn't walk, so he's waiting to meet and be awarded a high honor, is completely drunk, and realizes he doesn't have his hat, so he reaches for the closest one, and it's a bit big. Luftwaffe adjutant is just appalled, but everyone else is laughing. The big guy with one ball isn't here yet, and Eric says that it was too big. Then he jokes about having a big head. He was actually drunk the third and final time he met too, and according to him, admitted to him that they had lost the war. So yeah, one time the best fighter pilot in history stole his hat because he was drunk. The machineal tree is the deadliest plant in human history. Damn. This tree grows in Florida and the Caribbean. According to Atlas Obscura, it's the most toxic tree. The most toxic plant is water hemlock, also found in Florida. Florida is America's Australia. You can get prescription methamphetamine in the US. Trade name Desoxyn, used for extreme ADHD or extreme obesity. Is commonly used on small children in pediatric trauma centers. Since is an anesthetic and a vasoconstrictor, it is applied topically to control pain and bleeding in children that are too young to handle morphine. The heart, if perfused through the aorta with an appropriate solution, will beat for hours outside of the body. And they have invented some kind of heart-esque arrangement to allow this to happen while they transport the heart to the transplant hospital. I worked on that project. It's really cool. They use an ECMO circuit to oxygenate blood as it goes into the aorta. Perfusing backwards through the aorta pushes the blood through the coronaries, and it drains out the RV to be reused in the circuit. It's not used in people yet, but they've had up to 72 hours with the heart beating in a box outside an animal. They do have a really cool machine that does something similar for lungs and can be used to rescue lungs from DCD patients and recondition them for transplant. The male fossa has a thorny which not only hurts females during mating, but makes it nearly impossible to escape while doing so even if it's forced. This is true of cats as well. Felines, especially domestic cats, are well known for having penile spines. Upon withdrawal of a cat's the spines rake the walls of the female's which may serve as a trigger for ovulation. So that's why cats are so loud when they have or maybe they're loud because they didn't jerk off in silence through their teenage years and therefore stay silent during in their adulthood. You can rearrange the letters in Clint Eastwood to Old West action. No leftovers. Wombats have cube poop. Ancient Egyptians used to shave off their eyebrows to mourn the death of their cats. Please don't say this where my cat can find out and put even more weird pressure on me. If you feed a human body to pigs, they will eat just about all of it except the teeth. Several murderers in rural areas have used this fact to their advantage. And each of those teeth is roughly 36 calories. Too late, but here it goes. Don't ever bury a dead body in an area without any vegetation. The high nitrogen content in our bodies helps plant to grow, and there will be a weird grassy patch at the top of burial site and anyone would be able to spot it. Judith Barcy, the 10-year-old girl that voiced Ducky in the first Land Before Time movie and Anne-Marie in All Dogs Go to Heaven, was murdered and set on fire, along with her mother, by her father who then shot himself. Terminal velocity of an ant is around 4 miles per hour. They can't be harmed by falling because they can't fall fast enough to hurt themselves. A Russian woman had a ton of triplets, twins, and quadruplets, with the same man totaling up to 69 children. A nursing sperm whale's milk comes out in the consistency of cottage cheese so the calf can eat it in the water. The first 1080p video on YouTube was the Muppets singing Bohemian Rhapsody. A 2008 Prius can float, at least for short distances. Car was not damaged in any way. My dumb ass thought you meant in the air, not the water. I applaud your honesty, if not your intellect. The stringy things inside bananas are called phloem bundles. They allow the nutrients of the banana to travel the length of the fruit. They're kinda like the vascular system of the plant. The skin on your lips is the same type of skin as the skin on your arm. And the inside of your cheek is the same kind of skin as the inside of a. When the German army captured Stalin's son, said that if the Soviets release a German general, then would give Stalin his son back. Stalin replied, "Why would I trade a general for a lieutenant?" That's right. Stalin was so serious that he wouldn't release a single POW just to get his own son back. Alcoholics decompose faster when they die. Source was a crime scene cleaner. On what side of the law was this? He's the one that receives the dinner party reservations. Paid only in gold coins. Mount Kilimanjaro is the tallest mountain with cell service. Opossums eat ticks like we eat potato chips. They'll hoover up 5,000 ticks a week and never get Lyme disease themselves. They are North America's only marsupial. It is possible for them to get rabies, but rare, less common than in other mammals. Also be sure to thank your local opossum gang for snacking on all of those pests that nobody likes. Because the body contains LTNF, lethal toxin neutralizing factor, they're also immune to the effects of multiple venomous snake bites, ricin poisoning, bees, botulinum, etc. A lobster's brain is in its throat. If you want to burn down a building, put potato chips in a toaster with a trail leading from the toaster to other highly flammable things. The potato chips leave no residue and the toaster will pop back up after the chips catch fire, so there's no way to find the start of the fire. Well, I guess if I ever need to commit insurance fraud, you got my back. Rat poison is actually an anticoagulant mixed with stuff like fiberglass. Because rats are always scraping and squeezing into stuff, they build up these minor injuries. The anticoagulant stops the blood from clotting properly and they internally hemorrhage to death. Since a human being is a lot bigger than a rat, rat poison is much less effective on us. It's so much less effective, they have turned it into an anticoagulant that just so happens to be one of the most popular medications, commonly prescribed as Coumadin, Jantoven and warfarin. Minus the fiberglass. Probably. That's why I always order mine with extra fiberglass. The fox has many different vocalizations, including a mating call that sounds like the Hollywood representation of a woman being murdered in the middle of the night. In ancient Babylon, people would build their most valuable possessions, fine wine, among others, into the walls of the basement, which in the region was usually a naturally occurring cave, so when the taxman came he couldn't see it to count it. YKK makes 97% of the world's zippers. My music teacher in elementary school made a song and the lyrics were, "Why do all the zippers in the world say YKK?" and at 25 I still wonder when I look at them. If you're allergic to chocolate, you're usually allergic to cockroaches. Half of all bank robberies take place on a Friday. Bones can be some of the most effective and terrifying shrapnel, second only to liquid copper. Bones splinter when you put them in bombs, and can do horrific amounts of damage to soft tissues. Liquid copper, on the other hand, which is not that difficult to get in an explosion, can get through almost any armor like it's nothing. Learned that from a friend who did a tour in Iraq as an infantryman. Chuck E. Cheese's full name is Charles Entertainment Cheese. Elon Musk's full name is Elongated Muskrat. Owls have tube-shaped eyes, rather than spherical ones. This makes it difficult to move the eyes in their sockets, but is counteracted by the ability to rotate their heads 270 degrees in either direction. If you move the feathers out of the way of their ear holes, you can see the back of those eye tubes. An adult's collarbone will break with 8 pounds of perpendicular force. A child's breaks at 12 pounds. Bee testicles explode when they finish. And they die. Finish living with a bang. Can bees do anything without dying afterward? That Denmark had an ad called "Do It for Denmark" to try and increase their population. The first thing to form on human embryos is the and quite a few people don't grow much further than that after they're born. That you can disembowel yourself if you lift weights that are too heavy. Happened to my high school gym teacher. Said he's never felt anything quite like shitting out your intestines. He lived. Do you know the process one must go through to re-embowel yourself? 1. Go to hospital. 2. Let doctors fix. Polar bear liver has lethal concentrations of vitamin A. Most victims in survivable plane crashes died of jet fuel burning and choking them. Smoke hoods could save hundreds of lives if installed on airplanes. Likely many more than flotation devices since ditching is incredibly rare. Bonus. Backwards-facing seats would make a plane crash much easier to survive thanks to the G-forces pressing you against the seat instead. A human tooth has 36 calories. I'm hungry. Clenches jaws. 1,152 calories. Pythagoras from the Pythagorean theorem ran a cult, and another group came to come and murder him by locking him inside his house and setting it on fire, but instead he had his followers make a human ladder to escape the fire, but then abandoned them and they all died. He was murdered later that night being chased by the group in a bean field. And it was a pretty weird cult too. One of the rules was, if you let something fall on the ground you're not allowed to pick it up anymore. Birds need gravity to swallow, so a bird in space would die very soon. All except pigeons, which have the unique ability among birds to swallow via suction.